Uh, hey guys, I'm back. I wanted to talk to you today about 10 comic book movies that deserve director's cuts. And what better way to introduce this list than number one, The Crow City of Angels. Why is that? Well, it's because it's the only comic that I got of the ones that I'm talking about here. And this is, of course, the sequel to the Brandon Lee, Alex Proyas directed first movie from '94, if I recall. This is '96. Very rushed production. I think it had a slightly lower budget than the original. So the fact that, this is even somewhat like comprehensible is a blessing. But of course, the powers that be, the Weinsteins, Harvey Scissorhands, as they used to call him, butchered this movie into oblivion, turned a what was supposed to be a 2.5 hour, like a sort of love story, epic tragedy, if you will, like very akin to Shakespeare. Even the lead performance is inspired by Hamlet, I guess, or another fictitious Shakespearean figure. But this is a movie I always liked. Even though I could tell it was very badly edited. Like a lot of stuff was taken out of this movie. A lot of just moments in general that would have made these characters more three-dimensional rather than just your purpose here, girl from the first movie, all grown up now, Sarah, her name is. Her purpose is, at least in the theatrical cut, is basically just to tell Ash, like, this is what you do, this is what the last guy did, blah, blah, blah. And it just, she doesn't have much of a role to play in the theatrical cut. Whereas in the scenes that were deleted, and there was a... this is actually funny, too, because out of all the movies on here, this is the only one that I've actually legitimately seen the director's cut for it. And how? Well, it was when I was a kid, when I was 3 or 4, because some of the first memories of film that I actually have were from this pay-per-view version of this movie. I remember like sitting somewhere in the living room, like are you in a crib as that time as a kid? I don't know, when you're like 3 or 4. I don't know. Maybe I was just that foul of a kid that they just kept me locked in a cell the whole time until I was too big and I just started hopping over or whatever. But yeah, this is like the pay-per-view version of this film. It had like images. I just have images from it burned into my mind. There's a scene, and you can see a little shot of it in the theatrical version. But at one point, Ash, the crow in the movie, he blows away Iggy Pop's bike, and Iggy Pop goes flying back. His bike explodes, and but before then, he's doing the "What, you think I'm afraid of you" speech, and in the pay-per-view version, it shows that he's pissing his pants while he's telling him, you think I'm afraid of you, you fucking freak, And they removed that from the movie, so it's like, why would you remove that? That's like a neat little thing. I haven't really seen stuff like that on film before. Obviously, I've seen children pissing their pants, or obviously Billy Madison's in my mind when it comes to that. You're not cool unless you pee your pants. I love Billy Madison. And I love this movie, and I'd love to see that pay-per-view version of this movie again. Something. I mean, especially since this franchise has just been dormant. I mean, they've tried to reboot it a bunch of times with a whole variety of actors, from Jason Momoa to I think even Luke Evans at one point. I'm surprised Kit Harington hasn't been in the conversation, because his role as Jon Snow in Game of Thrones obviously is very similar to the Crow, with his spoilers for Game of Thrones, but Jon Snow's resurrection and stuff, and they even call him a crow in the show. So I always pictured that man as like, if they were to remake The Crow and this graphic novel directly, I would say cast Kit Harington. However, I think a better idea would just be to remake the sequel. It's got a great script from David S. Goyer, already made. Of course, he's famous for the Blade trilogy and writing the Dark Knight trilogy as well, and Man of Steel and other movies alike. You know, say what you will about some of these movies, but you know, overall, I think he's got a pretty proven track record as a writer, at least. Like, obviously the third Blade movie had a big problem because he had to, you know, sort of jump on board as director, but he was sort of in a same position as Simon Kinberg was for this recent X-Men Dark Phoenix movie. It's just like, it's just a mess, and you can't really blame the guys for how much of a mess the movies were crumbled into, because mainly it seems like the studio just going like, make us money now. And while I'm filming this, I'm like, I was going to say this at the start, but I might just make 2 separate versions of this. I'll upload this one first, where I'm just running my mouth for way too long and running off topic like this. And but yeah, I'm trying to think of what else I can say about this film, because this one is really my favorite of the bunch. And if you guys were to cut off the video at any point, you know, I'd want you to be aware of the fact that there is a version of this movie, The Crow City of Angels, that could be absolutely phenomenal. I think it'd be a great sequel to the first one. And I don't mind The Crow Salvation, the one that comes after this, the third one. It's got a young Kirsten Dunst in it as well as who's that actor? Like, I think he was like a boxer in real life. Like, he was in Tremors. What is his name? Fred Willard or something like that. He's in it as the villain. But yeah, like I always felt so bad for this movie, because it's one of those movies that I understand why people say, you know, it's a terrible movie, because that's what those fucking Weinsteins turned this movie into, and it pisses me off to this day, the fact that we still, like, how long has it been? Like I'm 26, damn it, I'm about to turn 27. It's been like nearly that long. It's been like over 20 years, you know, and nothing, like no director's cut, no official director's cut. Now, when you get the DVD of this, it'll say exclusive director's cut, but that's literally just establishing shots, extra like 5 minutes or so of establishing shots of crows flying, of people like walking longer than they did in the theatrical version. It's like, this is pointless. This is not the version. This is not the director's cut. The director's cut is 2.5 hours long, or around that ballpark. Not this bullshit of it just being like 80 minutes or whatever it is, 85 minutes, something ridiculous like that. It's like, come on, guys. Like, people aren't afraid to sit through a movie, you know? If your movie is good, if your movie can sustain my attention, anybody's attention for that matter, it's fine. Whereas this, like, the way the film is now, it's so fractured that I totally understand why people find it a hard movie to get into. Because I find it a tough movie to watch, just because of the fact that it genuinely upsets me, the butchering that goes on in Hollywood when it comes to movies like this. They sign off on a script, they say yes to it, they hire the fucking filmmaker, and then what do? They say, fuck you, we're turning it into a repeat of the first movie. Instead of what you, the cast and the fucking crew behind this movie did, all your hard work, screw you, we're the Weinsteins, we're making it the way we want. And how the fuck did that turn out? They had a #1 opening weekend, and then the movie fell off. You know why that is, guys? You know why that is? Because if you make a movie just for money, and word of mouth is that it sucks, people aren't gonna fucking see your movie. So let the filmmakers do what the hell they're doing. Okay? Because then you have a higher chance of making your damn money back. And more. Because word of mouth is everything, you know? Like releasing a mediocre movie that you can tell, like, you know, this is a mess. Coherently, this doesn't make sense. logically this doesn't make sense at certain points. Like you're sitting there as an audience member, like, why is this there? Why is this tattoo doing this? Why is he running out of the building, like going holding his chest like this? Why? What is this? What is that? And everything is explained. Everything, like, just think about it. Like with Batman versus Superman, what did they do with the theatrical cut of that movie? They remove a half hour or so from that movie. The director's cut, the Ultimate Edition, is like 3 hours long, something like that. The theatrical version's just 2.5 hours long. I mean, both are pretty freaking long movies, mind you. But a half hour is a lot to remove from a movie. You know, like a half hour is a like large chunk. But when you take out literally 50% of the movie, when you take out 50%, that's a different fucking story. That's a totally different fucking story. Like, in my opinion, like, the Ultimate Edition of Batman vs. Superman was obviously better than the theatrical version. I mean, say what you will about the movie, but I think it's ridiculous, the fact that anybody would say, oh no, it's worse than the theatrical cut. It's like, worse? Like, really? Because it's longer? I mean, at least it fleshes out these situations more. Like, it makes you understand why Superman's getting framed and all this extra stuff. It's like, oh, okay, at least I understand why people would think Superman did this, as opposed to just, you know, nonsense. And obviously I'm making this video in response to the whole Snyder Cut thing. I'm very excited to see that. I saw a news article today that said it's apparently going to release early to mid 2021, which is awesome news in my opinion. So that gives us about a year. Like, yeah, because we're literally halfway through this year now, so we'll get that Snyder Cut in no time, my friends. We'll get it in no time. So anyhow, I think I've spoken enough about the Crow City of Angels with this. I mean, I could talk about this movie for hours. I'm so fascinated with the production, and I'm so upset with how those producers treated these guys with this movie. I think it's a disgrace. I think, yeah, it's just sad that they treat filmmakers this way in Hollywood. You know, hardworking guys that want to do great things, but, you know, they get shit upon by the studios that hired them in the first place. Whatever. It's mind-boggling, guys. Anyhow, number 2, Iron Man 2. This is a movie, I actually hated this movie when I first saw it. I first saw it in theaters around opening weekend. Like, I think it may have been I struggle to say opening day. It may have been, but it was like one of those early afternoon ones. So, like, I think I sort of just snuck in, like, right when the theaters opened, so it wasn't that busy of a showing. I do remember it was, like, about a halfway packed theater, you know, fairly packed. You know, the reaction to it was fair. But I don't know, I walked out of it and I thought it was okay. You know, that's the problem with it. I just thought it was okay. I didn't think it was anything special. I thought the first movie was just amazing, having seen that in theaters, like, right around the time it opened as well with friends. Like, that was a totally, like, night and day experience, the first one and this sequel. The first one just felt so fresh and so unique. You know, even though obviously it was, you know, like, sort of utilizing elements of other movies, I think going forward with filmmaking, you can't help but sort of by proxy just make your movies similar to other projects, just because, you know, they're logically there's no originality left. You know what I mean? Like, there's a certain amount of stories to tell, and, you know, you can change it up however you want, but it's still got to maintain some sort of, like, strand of what's already been done before, whether intentional or not. It just happens. In the case of Iron Man 2, the deleted scenes for this are just amazing, man. I swear to God, they dropped the ball so hard with the opening. I think the opening sequence to the theatrical cut of Iron Man 2 perfectly encapsulates what the hell's wrong with it. It literally starts off with just like a shot of Iron Man's back, and he's just standing there, and he's about to jump out of a plane. And it's just like, I remember the first movie had a lot more character than this, you know, than just like, oh, look, cool, Iron Man, badass, awesome, action hero, you know. It's just like, yeah, he's cool, but I care more about Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark than I do about, you know, just the metal suit itself. I don't really care. You know, that's why I like the deleted opening scene where you literally start off with Tony, and it sounds like it sounds like he's having sex or something. So I presume maybe that's why they got rid of it. But it's revealed that he's like hanging over the toilet in the Iron Man suit, and he's throwing up, and that's why it's like it had me laughing like my ass off as soon as the reveal happens, because I'm like, as soon as it starts off, it's playing literally the Marvel logo and the whatever logos of the studios, like Disney or whatever. And it's just so funny, like seeing that reveal, and of course Gwyneth Paltrow and I was about to call him Robert Downey Jr. Robert De Niro. Robert Downey Jr. Wait, I was about to call him Robert De Niro instead of Robert Downey Jr. They both have such great chemistry, Gwyneth and Robert, and this is a great opening sequence, and how the hell they deleted it is beyond me. I mean, I'd rather have this scene in the movie, and I'd rather have the extended scenes between Rhodey and Tony in there, and any more scenes involving Justin Hammer. Yeah, like absolutely. I love that character. I love Sam Rockwell as that character. I'd like to see like the scenes that Mickey Rourke was very upset about the studio getting rid of, because he when the film starts, it's like, oh, okay, this guy's gonna make for a very interesting antagonist to Tony Stark. But no, you know, it's just so fucking, it's so lame by the end, in my opinion. It's so lame. People complained about the fight between Tony and Obadiah Stane, like Jeff Bridges from the first one. I actually really liked that scene. I didn't know what the hell people's problem with it was. I mean, I could see the action. The CGI looks spectacular. It's got like this almost like a horror movie vibe going on, like further into the battle as the Iron Man suit's getting damaged, and you know, he's taken off his headpiece, and all of a sudden you know, the Ironmonger comes out of nowhere and like swipes at his head and takes his helmet off or something. It's a great fight because a lot of it is practical, and it's got the emphasis on the actors and their performances and what the characters are going through in that moment. And yeah, like you can see everything that's going on, whereas like you watch Batman Begins, for example, and you can't tell what the fuck is going on in those action sequences. I mean, like maybe some of them you can tell, but most of them are just like quick cut, quick cut, quick cut, quick cut. Thankfully, in both The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, I think Christopher Nolan really like showed like, hey, I've gotten a grasp of how to film action now. And movies like Inception, he got like way better with his action sequences. And but yeah, Iron Man 2, man. I mean, this movie was a big disappointment for me, and I'd love to see it get a definitive director's cut. So I didn't say it with the Crow City of Angels, but I'll say it now. Release the Pope cut, and release the Favreau cut of Iron Man 2. Because boy oh boy is that movie just, it's a mess. It's a mess. Like, even if you enjoy it, like, I don't think anybody denies the fact that it's a bloody mess. Its tone is all over the place. At times it wants to be like, ha ha ha, laugh out loud funny, and then at times it wants you to care about Tony. And it's like, you still do? You still like him? Because it's Robert Downey Jr. I mean, like, I just love the guy. But my God, like they really tried to make me just despise Tony in this. I don't know, I just found him annoying. Like, whereas in the first one, like, every scene with him seemed to have a point rather than just, you know, like, oh, he funny in this scene, or oh, he getting poisoning from his arc reactor, blah blah blah. It's just like I want to care, but you guys are making it extremely difficult for me. So, enough of that. Next movie, number 3, Spider-Man 3. Now this is one that we've already got an editor's cut of. And, you know, I don't mind the editor's cut. I'll give it credit. I think structurally it's actually better than the theatrical cut. I do like the theatrical cut, I think, more, though. Because initially I thought I liked the editor's cut better because of the way they arranged the scenes. I think it makes certain, like, dance sequences, for example, more tolerable, more acceptable, at least the way they're placed in the order this time around. But the theatrical cut benefits from, for some reason, the editor's cut deletes this pivotal Aunt May Peter Parker scene where, you know, she walks into his apartment and, you know, she's telling him about forgiveness and this and that. First, you have, in order to do this, you have to forgive yourself, blah, blah, blah. Aunt May's sentimental speech. And it's a nice scene. For some reason, it's just gone. It's just, like, not in the editor's cut. And I was sort of baffled by that. I'm like, why would you delete that? Like, she's such a great actress. And, you know, even though we've been there before with this character, like, she's given, obviously, very similar speeches before, even in this movie. It's still an effective scene, and I think it's needed in the movie. You know, it didn't make sense to me to get that out of there. So I'd like to see a definitive director's cut of Spider-Man 3. Main reason, because I want the Comic-Con 2007 or 2006, whatever trailer, that leaked trailer. I want that version of Venom. I want that version of the CGI Venom. I don't want this whatever the hell this goop that we got in this version is. Like, it looks terrible. It's like, it's goopy. It looks stupid. Like, there's no, like, depth. There's no, like, sense that the character is, like, physically there. It just looks all like CGI. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? Did you see how he looked in this trailer? Did you see how the character looked? Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. They have, like, scenes and quick shots from this trailer that absolutely are way more exciting than anything we got in the movie, in my opinion. Like, way more thrilling, way darker, like, just the amount of, like, dark and gritty that I wanted, because it still looked to be having fun, of course. But I like the fact that this was going in a darker direction. But it seems like they sort of, you know, pulled that back way too much, in my opinion. And they made Venom a joke, and he's pulling back his face in the fucking movie, and it's just so stupid. And I like the alternate ending with Venom as well. Like, I think when Peter throws the bomb at it at the end, it's revealed that, like, Eddie's inside, but he's sort of like a skeleton, and, like, he, like, basically the symbiote has, like, just consumed him. And I think they did, like, a similar thing with another character in the comics. I might be mistaken, but I remember the symbiote, like, doing something along those lines in the comics, and I always thought, like, that was a missed opportunity, not to have that version of his death in this movie. Because, like, yeah, it would have been terrifying, but that's Sam Raimi's wheelhouse, man. I mean, look at how well that scene from Spider-Man 2 with Octavius's arms in the hospital or emergency room. Look how awesome that scene was, you know. Even though, like, even my friends, like, who aren't fans of horror movies, they go, like, yeah, that scene kicks ass. That movie kicks ass. So yeah, like, basically, like, literally everything that I want from Spider-Man 3 is in that Comic-Con trailer. I hate it when studios release trailers for movies, and you know, Artemis Fowl, apparently that piece of shit movie that's out on Disney Plus now, apparently that's the same thing where like most of the clips aren't even in the movie. So it's like, what were you guys doing? Like, why are you constantly changing things around? Can't you just leave them as they are? You filmed them, for fuck's sakes. You're going to make the same amount of money, if not more, if you just leave it. You know, just improve the CGI. Just, you know, present what you presented rather than something that's totally different. Because then people feel gypped. I felt gypped seeing Spider-Man 3 after watching the Comic-Con leaked trailer. And of course it's leaked. But, you know, like that was a big deal. I remember that was like the first time as a kid that I actually, you know, was like, it was probably my most hyped movie ever. I was more hyped for Spider-Man 3 than I was for Avengers, Dark Knight, you name it. I was more hyped for Spider-Man 3 above any comic book movie that I've ever seen. Because, of course, I love those first two movies. And I want to love this one, but I feel like there is a really great movie there that's just waiting to be released. But I don't know what the fuck they were doing. Because Venom, like, in different shots of the movie, like, his model looks completely different from the last. It's bizarre. It's like, there's one scene in the movie where he looks like he appears in the Comic-Con trailer, and that's when it's the news report, and he jumps at the camera. And I'm like, that's what I wanted! That's what we wanted! That version, that model of Venom looks amazing. Looks incredible, in my opinion. Looks even better than the recent Venom with Tom Hardy, in my opinion. I mean, I love, like, the look. Like, it's creepy. Like, it stuck with me as a kid seeing that image of Venom from that Comic-Con trailer. It genuinely looked like it would be the first comic book film to have a villain that was genuinely terrifying to behold. Like, genuinely, like, I was walking into Spider-Man 3 with my mom thinking that it was going to be like a horror movie with Venom. And in certain ways it was, but not intended, I guess. But, you know. Because the movie's a mess, but it's still highly entertaining. And it's better than those god-awful Andrew Garfield films. I don't care what anybody says. Like, those movies are complete garbage. And, but maybe we'll get to them in a bit. So number 4, this one kind of breaks my heart a bit. Number 4, Batman Forever. Rest in peace, Joel Schumacher. Man, oh man, I've for the past few weeks now, I've been obsessed with this clip on YouTube, and it's this deleted scene from Batman Forever. It's called "Secret of the Batcave." I think somebody here on YouTube did a edit of it, because when you see the official deleted clips from this movie, they're missing like sound effects and the score and whatnot, and the audio is a bit rough. But this wonderful man added the music and some of the sound effects back in, and the scene is just incredible. I swear to God, no joking here. That Secret of the Batcave scene with the giant bat in the thumbnail, like obviously in the scene as well. And you even see it in the theatrical cut. It's when, like, Riddler's brain thing is on Bruce, and, you know, he's having the giant bat flying towards him. And, my God, that scene, man. That scene alone would have made me absolutely love this movie as a kid, I think. Because, like, when I first watched that clip, and I had seen it before, but when I'd seen it before, I think I was significantly, like, you know, not younger, I want to say, but like around like 20s, and I was just like, oh, you know, these scenes are fine, but, you know, whatever. You know, I didn't sort of worry about it. It was only recently that I uncovered that clip again and rewatched the deleted scenes. And all the deleted scenes for this are amazing. There's maybe only one, like, that I thought was unnecessary, I guess, and it's the alternate ending. It's just like a quick 30-second scene. It's totally pointless. It's just Alfred talking with what's her name? Nicole Kidman. I was about to call her Kim Basinger, but that was the '89 film. But I think that was the point of the scene, though. It was supposed to be like maybe a callback to that first '89 Batman movie. Like she's basically in Vicky Vale's seat now, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. But everything else, though, everything else that was deleted from this just truly impressed me. And again, I missed it with Spider-Man 3, but I'll go back and say release the Raimi cut, and for Batman Forever, release the Schumacher cut, because rest in peace, Joel. Yeah, I can't believe you're gone. You've made some great stuff. I love Phone Booth. You know, I love The Lost Boys. And there's one other. I know he did A Time to Kill. I was always a fan of that movie. Darn, I know there's another one that I'm missing. Like Falling Down with Michael Douglas. That movie, if you haven't seen that, guys, definitely give it a watch. But I haven't come across many people that haven't seen that movie. I'm always shocked to find people that haven't seen it, because like, you haven't seen it? My God, you're missing some great acting and some great directing on behalf of Joel Schumacher, because people gave him hell for the bat nipples and Batman and Robin. But I'll say it now, and I've always said it. I always thought Batman and Robin was supremely more entertaining than Batman Forever, because Batman Forever as a kid always just annoyed the piss out of me. Whereas Batman and Robin is just so overblown, so stupid, so like ridiculous, that I couldn't help but love it as a kid. You know, it's a terrible movie, but at least it wears its terribleness on its sleeve. Whereas this Batman Forever, it's like back and forth. It's trying to be Tim Burton's movies, and it's trying to be Joel Schumacher's movies, and it's trying to be a studio movie, and it's trying to be this, and it's trying to be a serious drama. And it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing to me? What are you doing? I want to like this movie. I like Val Kilmer. You know, I like Jim Carrey to a certain extent. I mean, I like the fact that he's basically, you know, the 60s version of the Joker. I think the actor's name was Frank Gorshin or something. But, you know, watching clips back to back of the 60s Joker and this Joker, it's like, wow, Jim Carrey did a great job at replicating the character that we knew from the Batman TV series in the 60s. And Tommy Lee Jones is just at his worst. So, yeah, just the villains are the biggest problem with this movie, in my opinion. I think Tommy Lee Jones is absolutely outright terrible in this movie. I mean, he may have been bad in other movies before, where you can tell he's just there for money, obviously, just like Bruce Willis and Harrison Ford and guys like that should have retired ages ago. But in this, the fact that Tommy Lee Jones was just being so obnoxious and so annoying, just to like basically like mock Jim Carrey, I guess. Like look up Jim Carrey's interview with Howard Stern and on his relationship with Tommy Lee Jones on the set of this movie, and you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about here, because I don't really want to spoil it. It's quite fascinating, and one of my favorite quotes actually comes from that interview with Jim Carrey, so I'd highly recommend it. But anyhow, give us the director's cut of Batman Forever, guys. I mean, come on, Warner Brothers, you're already doing it with Justice League. Why not this one? You know, like what have you got to lose? You've already got the footage there. You just need to restore it, remaster it, and I think this would be I think if you made this a continuous thing where you revisit older movies and you give us stuff that potentially would have made those movies even more appreciated, would be great. You know, that would be a great thing. You know, especially now where, you know, and I hate the people that say that this is a bad thing. Getting extended cuts of movies, getting director's cuts of movies is a bad thing, apparently. It's toxic fandom or whatever. Like, I saw some article, the headline for it. I'm like, I'm not clicking on this clickbait garbage. Are you kidding me? Like the downfall of fans getting their way or blah, 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 whatever the article is called. It's just like, we're the consumers here. Guys, in case you forgot, we like to watch things that actually entertain us, that make us happy, not, you know, watch a movie and go like, that could have been so much better if they just had that scene from the trailer, if they just had, You know, the stuff that the director filmed in the first place. Would have been fine, but anyhow, moving on. Number 5, Suicide Squad. We moving on to another DC property now. We may be getting this. You know, there have been talks about this Ayer cut, release the Ayer cut, circling around Hollywood recently, and I hope it happens, man, because David Ayer seems like a good guy. I've been a fan of his for a while. Between I think I'm burping up from the beer I was drinking yesterday. All these Coronis. Yeah, so number 5, Suicide Squad. I mean, what can I say that hasn't already been said? I really want to see those extended Joker sequences. I think Jared Leto gets a bad rap for his version of this character. You know, obviously beloved character, obviously very very weird performance. But I think when people like talk about him, they almost relate him to like Johnny Depp in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and it's like, he's not that bad. I mean, like, every time Jared Leto's on screen, I'm just baffled. I'm just but in a good way, you know. I'm like, I don't know if I like this, but I'm fascinated, and like, I'm more intrigued by those Joker scenes than I am by basically any other scene in this film. Like, literally, I felt like more depth to the Joker character than any other character, which is so weird, because it's like, people say they outright hate him, and like, I've always kept a bit hum about it, but I'm like, I don't mind him, you know. And I've had friends that thankfully have felt the same way, and I'm like, phew, thank God, because like, every time I go on like these, like, I don't write on them much anymore, but I go on like these message boards just to see what the latest crazy fans are saying about all this shit, and it's always funny to me. I'm always having a good laugh at the Reddit comments and YouTube comments and all this like comic book related stuff, because people take it so seriously, you know. And it's just like, you know, I get if you have a love for it, but you know, if you're taking it seriously to the point where it's just like, I don't know. I shouldn't talk, because I love comic book movies, and I don't really have any quarrel with anybody, and I don't have a quarrel with anybody's opinion on film. You know, I may not agree with them, but it's like, I shouldn't really have a problem, because I don't care, you know. I don't care. And yeah, so speaking of I don't care, number 6, Avengers Age of Ultron, another movie, another damn sequel from Marvel, where it's just like they interfere with the directors. And you know, I don't really like Joss Whedon as a filmmaker. I think I said that in like another one of my comic book related videos, obviously about DC or Superman, whatever. But yeah, he got dealt a bad hand with this film, in my opinion. I do like the first Avengers movie. I don't think it holds up as well as when it first came out. I think the thrill has sort of like died down, especially when you get Infinity War and Endgame. I think those are significantly better films by comparison. But I think Age of Ultron has the ability to stand the test of time in terms of quality with those two movies that I just mentioned. Because, you know, as an Avengers movie, it's fine, it's fun, it's got some clever sequences. The entire like house party sequence in this film is really well done. It's got great dialogue, great characterizations, great acting, of course. It's fun seeing all these characters without their costume, just sort of like, you know, just revealing who they are as people, rather than just being in another mindless action sequence where they're just punching away at drones. It's like, people don't go to these movies to see that crap. People go to these movies to care about these characters. Like, I don't go to these movies because it's like, oh, I want to shove popcorn in my face and I want to watch a giant metal guy blow up a town. It's like, I don't care. I really don't care about that crap. I really don't. I'd watch a comic book movie if it was literally like a Woody Allen movie, where it's just like two characters sitting down having dinner for the whole hour and a half. And an hour and a half, can we have like a superhero movie that's like like a smaller runtime for a change, please. Like, I'm getting sick and tired of these bloated, like 2.5, 3 hour long. Now we got this 4 hour cut apparently of Justice League, and it's like, yeah, I'm excited, but you know, that's like a huge block of my day. You know, this better be worth it. Damn it. So Age of Ultron, there's like a half hour's worth of deleted scenes, and they're all fantastic. Every one that I've seen on the Blu-ray, just why did you delete this? Like, they even got quick little scenes with Quicksilver that make him so much more of a likable character that it makes me care more about when he dies, like later in the film. It's like, why did you not have? It's literally like 2 little clips. There's one with him and his sister giving away clothes, in whatever part of the world they're in at that point. I forget what that place, like Sarconia or something. I don't know. But like it develops his character more in these 2 quick deleted scenes with him than it does in the film. Because in the film, I'm just like, this guy's a schmuck. I don't care about him. I really don't care about him. You know, and I actually like the actor quite a bit. You know, I don't think he's too bad. He's been in some things where I'm like, oh, this guy sucks. But overall, I've liked most of his work. But, you know, they done him dirty in this, in my opinion. And it's a real shame. But yeah, like, give us the Whedon cut, you know, release the Whedon cut. If we're getting the Snyder cut, I think Whedon should, you know, Disney Plus, if they want to compete with HBO Max, this is how you do it. Imagine that. Like somewhere around mid-2021, we get Avengers Age of Ultron, the Whedon cut, versus Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like, that would be historic. That would be epic. You know, especially if we're still in this pandemic mode, which, let's face it, we probably will be. I don't know. I don't want to say for certain because I'm not educated in that at all. So number 7, let's quickly plow through these last ones here because battery's running low, I notice, and I just tend to ramble on way too much. I forgot to charge this damn camera last night. So number 7, The Incredible Hulk. Instead of saying release the Louis Terror, I think that's his name. Instead of releasing the Louis Terror cut, if that's how you pronounce his name, if not, sorry, my man. You're good director. I like quite a bit of your movies, but and I actually like this movie quite a bit. But I would love to see the film that Edward Norton had in mind when he jumped on board to do this movie, because I actually think his version of the film would be way better than this version of the film, which I already think is a supremely underrated, supremely entertaining movie. It has a awesome, kick-ass final battle, and some of the CGI holds up pretty well in my opinion. Like, it obviously doesn't look too good. Like, there at the end there's a helicopter and it shines its light down on the Hulk, and that shot I was always like, I don't really like it. But other than that, most of it looks pretty damn good in my opinion. So there's this one deleted scene, and it's the guy from Modern Family, and it's him and Edward Norton, and they're just talking, and that scene right there is exactly why I want to see the Edward Norton cut of The Incredible Hulk. I would just love it, because I already like the movie a lot. So I think of all these movies I got listed here, yeah, Incredible Hulk is, well, actually, no, that's for the last one. I like the last movie a lot. So the Incredible Hulk, I'd say, is probably my second favorite of these movies on here. Third one would probably be, I don't know, that's a tougher question. I'd take too long thinking about it. Number 8, Thor. First Thor. I'm not talking about Dark World. I don't really care. First Thor movie. What can I say? This movie, I actually like it quite a bit as well. You know, it was one of those movies I was sort of like, meh, on when I first saw it. But seeing some of the scenes from it now, I'm like, hey, looking back on it fondly. You know, I like Chris Hemsworth a lot. I think he's wonderful as Thor. The fish out of water stuff in this movie is really funny. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because there's this amazing deleted scene between Thor and Loki, and it's before all this conflict starts. It's at the beginning of the movie where Thor's supposed to be crowned king and whatnot. And it's just this nice, like, dialogue exchange between him and Loki, and it's like one of the rare times in which you actually get to see these characters, like, you know, genuinely love each other rather than just be antagonistic towards one another, because they're brothers after all. And, you know, you want to see them, you know, happy together rather than, you know, button heads constantly like they do throughout the course of the rest of the movies. But yeah, just that deleted scene alone, I think, would justify giving us a director's cut. So release the Kenneth Branagh cut of this. Thank you very much. Number 9, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Release the web cut. I mean, what can I say about this one? Wow. Like, this movie's a fucking mess, man. I hate this movie. But I hate the first one even more. And I was going to put the first one here initially because there are some good deleted scenes in that. But I think the deleted scenes for this are far superior and drastically change my perception on how I look at this film. The alternate ending for this film, my God, blew my mind. Andrew Garfield's acting here, like, if they were to give people Oscars for deleted scenes, Andrew Garfield would have one in his closet right now, because his acting in this scene with his father coming back, like, out of nowhere is just so good, and it made me care more about his character than the entirety of that fucking mess of the movie, not to mention the first movie, which I absolutely hated. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I do actually kind of like it more than the first one, like, because I think it's more colorful, it's more light, it's trying to be more fun, but it's still got the gunk from that first movie, the dark and the gritty and all this bullshit, like his parents getting killed at the start of the movie, and it's so stupid. It's like, what the fuck are we watching here? Is this a Spider-Man movie or is this a spy movie? What are we doing? And it's just nonsense. So I'd love to see what Mark Webb had in mind when he was originally photographing this movie, instead of what the hell Avi Arad and Sony had up their sleeve with this garbage, like with its terrible soundtrack and all. Like, in spite of all that, I'd love to see a director's cut with those Mary Jane sequences in, because I'm curious to see how her performance turned out, you know, because other than Zendaya, I think is her name, from the Homecoming and Far From Home movies, it'd be cool to see another version of Mary Jane and see how she stacks up against, you know, the other renditions of the character that we've gotten, whether it be the Spectacular Spider-Man animated series or the Sam Raimi trilogy, you name it, or the comics themselves. And finally, number 10. This might shock you, but it's Man of Steel. Man of Steel. So release the Snyder Cut, Volume 2, guys. Like, I was shocked to hear that this movie had some deleted scenes, but, you know, upon watching the first teaser trailer, there's a shot with the dog, with him with the beard, where he's petting the dog, you know, and I talked about it, actually. I mentioned it in the Last of Us 2 video that I just did, but, you know, I was always interested in seeing how Man of Steel would play out if it was played in chronological order, where they don't do that big time jump and they don't flash back constantly to when he's a kid. Because I feel like maybe if we get those scenes in chronological order, maybe some of the people that despise the movie and despise Superman as a character, maybe if we, like, play it in chronological order and throw back in some of the deleted scenes involving Pa Kent, Ma Kent, and you know, baby Clark and child Clark and what have you, I think those deleted scenes could really add a bit extra to this film. And I'm surprised that we haven't really gotten any sort of, like, I wonder if people have asked Zack Snyder if he's ever considered doing a director's cut of Man of Steel, because, you know, it's like, why not? We've already got one for Batman v Superman. We got one for Justice League coming out. Make it the whole trifecta, man. I mean, this is supposed to be your magnum opus, Zack Snyder. Come on, give us another Snyder cut. I'd be happy to watch a 3-hour version or whatever, however long version of Man of Steel. I absolutely love the movie, and it's my favorite. Like, in its current condition, it's my favorite out of all these movies. So with that out of the way, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Next video will probably be like a re-edit of this, maybe, where I throw in like scenes and shots, but I might not do that. You know, maybe I shouldn't even mention it, but you know, I like letting you guys know what's going on in my head up here, because I got a lot of stuff running in there, and it's just like, what do I do? What do I do? I don't know, but I'm going to turn this camera off before it turns itself off, okay? See you guys.